Welcome all. And what we will be doing now is we'll be starting with our webinar. So you are free to bug me at any point of time. So if at all there are any questions you have, feel free to put up those questions straight away in the chat window. And we will try to have like most of the questions answered then and there itself. But if there are certain questions which needs more attention, then those questions can be answered later on. So towards the end of the webinar, we should have most of the like questions answered. In case there are questions after the webinar you have, I'll hand over my email ID so that you can send those questions to me, and then we can discuss offline. So in this workshop, I'm not going to switch on the video because that way streaming will be more, and many of you, those who are attending this webinar on mobile, may have certain issues. So in that case, what we have to do is we will be we will have only the screen and audio being recorded and being transferred or being broadcasted. So yes, I'm going to, I received a question just now. So I'm going to record this session and we will hand over this session on the YouTube channel. And at the same time, we will hand it over through Ames Digital. So whatever we are recording right now, whatever is happening on the in this webinar, the recording will be provided later on. And there's one more thing that I think we need to, I need to convey that since there is certain cyclonic condition that we have, so because of which there can be some sort of issues in streaming, there can be some issues in power cuts or failures at my end or at your end. So there may be some sort of disturbances that we will have. So because of the outer conditions. So now what we need to do is we need to start now because it's already 11:10 now. So let's continue. So agenda for next 2 hours is very simple. What we need to do is we need to understand how browsers work behind the scene. We also need to understand what exactly DOM means. Some of you may have worked on JavaScript before, rather that was a prerequisite for this course. And then we will try to go and understand in depth about DOM creation, what exactly means it means by a BOM, that is browser object model, and certain surprising facts about the browser's implementation. So then there will be something like some facts we will try to understand, which you may have ignored during your tenure of working with JavaScript. So let's continue now. So I'm going to have a poll here. So just to understand the background of all participants. So there will be some question that you will see on your screen. What you can do is you can quickly answer that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a poll. So look at the question on your screen and you can very well answer. And we will just see the background of all the participants. So I'm just going to wait for a while. Okay, 75% people have voted so far. Okay, I'm still waiting for the answers. Okay, maybe we will end the poll now. Okay, So around 63 people have answered like you have worked on a JavaScript, that's good. And 37% have said no to it. So, okay. So this was a bit of prerequisite for the webinar, doesn't matter. So what we will do is just be with me, and then we will all learn certain basics, and then learn advanced as well. So here we go. Next question I have for you before we continue, just to understand those who have answered yes to like they know JavaScript. So next question I'll have, so that I'll understand how much amount of things you know. So here's what we will do. Okay. The next question is on your screen. Please answer that. Okay, I'm waiting. Okay, so maybe we have enough amount of people voted now. So I'm just going to end the poll. So are documents and window objects given by JavaScript? So 33% have answered yes, 33 have answered no, and 33 have answered don't know, which is exact figure that we have. I'm going to share quickly result with you. Just look at the results. And now I'm going to end the result sharing. So window and document objects are used by JavaScript, but are not JavaScript objects. So these are objects given by a DOM tree, which browser internally creates. So what exactly DOM means, what exactly JavaScript or why exactly JavaScript is really required, how HTML and JavaScript communication happens internally is what we need to understand. So now let's continue with our session. So normally when we start with any web programming and front-end programming specifically, we deal with the browser a lot. We write JavaScript, we write CSS, we write HTML. So you will find out ultimately browsers are all based on top of one engine. So there was one library built by way back in 93, 92. So there was a library built called as libwww. This library was built by a person named as Tim Berners-Lee. And then based on this library was supposed to simply understand the HTTP protocol. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to make some content changes in the slide itself. So I'm just going to use a drawing tool so that we all can, okay, here itself, I'm going to start putting some content. Okay, so this particular part, which that is libwww. So this library was only for understanding the HTTP protocol. So when we communicate from client side to the server side, whatever data transmission happens, so understanding of header, understanding of packet, understanding of return types, the basic understanding was there with respect to libwww. It was a library written using C language. But then barring that, like barring accessing the content of a protocol packet, the library was doing nothing. So then obviously if at all I receive some sort of package over the web server or over the web, ultimately what we need to do is, as a client, browsers had to put up something on the screen. So browser may have to go and put up some HTML on a screen. Browser may have to go and put up some sort of, let's say, PDF on a screen. So that understanding libwww never had. So on top of libwww, what happened was there was a rendering engine built. So one of the very basic rendering engine which was given was Gecko. So it was an open source engine, and then many other browsers basically used it. So to understand the scene, it is more like, I'm going to draw something in front of you now. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to clear the drawing that I already have here. And then I'm going to start drawing one more time in here. Here we go. So by default, let's say there is one client that we have, there is one server that we will have, and we simply need to have some sort of communication between these two. So what happens with libwww on the client end, that is here, is, as I said, it has only basic understanding about the HTTP response that it receives, but it cannot understand what internally it has got. So then what we have is, we have something called as a rendering engine, which is built on top of it. So I will mention here a rendering engine. Now this engine's job will be to read some sort of contents one by one. I'm sure all of us have at least seen once some HTML. So normally when we see some sort of HTML, it will always have some sort of content put up in a hierarchical manner. Like there will be something called as HTML/HTML, there will be head, and there will be lot of other tags that we will have here. So one by one, we will have many tags, let's say over here. But who will understand what to do with this kind of a writing? So you will find out normally this writing is handed over to somebody called as a rendering engine. And this rendering engine internally will have literally kind of, you can say, mapping of these contents. So it will try to understand what does it mean by HTML tag. It will have an understanding of what does it mean by something called as head tag, title tag, and so on. And you will find out actual drawing of a UI. So I should mention here, actual UI, user interface, is put up by rendering engine itself. So libwww's job was only to take the packets, dissect the packet, and hand it over to rendering engine. And then there are many rendering engines that we have in the market today. Some of them are proprietary, for example, Microsoft's engine. Some of them are open source, and some of them are easy to modify as well. So you will find out rendering engine plays a very vital role in the front end. But then how does it matter to me understanding rendering engine? In case you are planning to build your own browser, then rendering engine does matter. In case you are trying to understand why some sort of tag works in some X browser and why it doesn't work in Y browser, the root lies in something called as rendering engine. What if I add a tag in HTML called as Mahesh tag? What if I add a tag called as Mahesh and then I hand it over to the browser? Will browser by default understand it? Will rendering engine by default understand it? No. So by default, how and what will be behavior of rendering engine then? So by default, you will have to understand some rendering engines will try to ignore the tag. Some rendering engines will try to take this as a container tag and will put something like blank on the screen. Some container tags will try to put up some content inside the Mahesh tag on the screen as it is. So you will find out every rendering engine basically differs in terms of understanding certain tags. Again, is there any kind of a guidance given to rendering engine, like what sort of tags exist in HTML? Is there any standard that we use for constructing HTML? So normally the standard for writing HTML, there are, you can say, there is a standard given by World Wide Consortium. I would say World Wide Web Consortium. So I will say W3C. As an organization, as a group of developers, we have certain standards set by World Wide Consortium. And then normally the old standards are governed by W3C. There is one more community or standard that we have, which is also well known as WhatWG. So this is another community that we can call it as. These two communities ultimately drive the current web world. So what happens is these two communities are ultimately offering, so-called, you can say, different standards. And then which one to refer, it is obviously a choice of what we call it as browser vendors. So if there is a browser made by, let's say, maybe Google, there is a browser made by Microsoft, there is a browser made by, let's say, Apple, In a case, which of these standard to follow, it is normally up to the owner of a rendering engine, ultimately owner of a browser. Now, when it comes to like, what if I understand maybe W3C and I don't understand what WG, or vice versa? So currently, everybody wants to be there in the market. None of the browser wants to tell you that they don't understand, or the browser or I won't understand some XYZ tag also. So you will find out every browser today normally has support for both the standards over here. And you will find out normally the kind of, you can say, it's kind of, you can say, mutual agreement that we have. That is, every rendering engine or every browser which is latest today do understand what is given by W3C and what is recommended by what WG. So you'll find out two communities exist. Later on in the discussion, we will understand why these two communities exist in the first place. Why do we have such kind of a, like dual world in case of a front end? So we'll understand that. So crux of the basic discussion that we have here, normally every browser is based on top of a very root library called as libwww. There is something piled up on top of libwww that is called as rendering engine. Some free rendering engines exist, some paid rendering engines exist, or some proprietary engines exist. And then there are browsers made on top of it. But then this is only something that we know, it's just for the sake of plotting the UI. But then what if interactivity comes in picture? What if I really want a button to be clicked and some sort of, you can say, code to be executed? What if I really want validations to happen? In such cases, if at all we are looking for interactivity, then few things matter to us. We need some programming language. So HTML, using plain HTML, you can't really have a kind of, you can say, logic written. So in such cases, for logic writing, there was a language required. So there were, you can say, multiple number of vendors who basically come in picture. Then there was a vendor called Netscape who offered JavaScript. There was another vendor called as Microsoft, which offered VBScript. And then the war started. So ultimately, which language I should use on the browser end for programming? There is again different opinion that people have. VBScript is no more now because of the wide popularity of JavaScript itself. So you will find out who will execute my JavaScript, who will understand JavaScript and maybe parse for the syntax and parse for the errors. So there was again one more thing required on the browser's end, and that is very popular by the name JavaScript engine. So what we need in the browser side now, we need a rendering engine for rendering the UI. We also need a JavaScript engine for execution of a JavaScript. And this is what is our focus today, like working with JavaScript engine. So how JavaScript engine works behind the scene, we will try to understand it. There are certain concepts that some of you may have seen, some of you may have heard, something called as how JavaScript hoisting works, for example, how exactly JavaScript threading works behind the scene. If not, then we have an agenda for it. So you will find out why JavaScript engine works in some X way. It will be more and more clear, partially through this seminar, through this webinar, and partially in the later curriculum that we have planned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch one more time to a slideshow here. So as I said, we have some sort of hierarchy like this. I'm just going to go and clear the drawing now on the screen, and let's continue. Now, as I said some time back, here rendering engine plays a very vital role. So I did mention rendering engine is something you can build by yourself. So there is what we call it as open source engines are available. One of the very famous engine that we have is Gecko, which is open source and currently in use by Mozilla Firefox and SeaMonkey like browsers. Meanwhile, there are 700 plus number of browser versions that we have today in the market. But then out of 700 plus, how many hardly we use is hardly 5 to 7. Which means if I ask you a question, what browsers you use, most of you must be using Chrome, most of you must be using Firefox, some of you may be using IE, Safari, and then there will be some sort of, you can say, odd browsers like SeaMonkey, like something called as Maxthon or Opera that some of you may be using. But then barring these few browsers, not even 10, you will find out what happens to those 700 plus number of browsers. You will find out those browsers may be in use, maybe in some sort of research projects, but then browsers exist. Every browser has got some or other plus point. So Some browsers are fast, some browsers consume less CPUs, some browsers do consume less memory, and then some browsers basically render something very well. Some browsers do execute JavaScript faster than anybody else. So you will find out there are always a variety of plus points that each of the browser has. So when it comes to rendering engine, ultimately when it comes to rendering engine, it's like Gecko is one of the very popular engine. There is another engine which is called as KHTML, which is used by Conqueror web browser. Now, since Conqueror is no more, you will find out KHTML itself is modified by Google, and then it is given as, you can say, a different engine. Opera is there, Vivaldi is there. So maybe I should go back. Vivaldi as another, it's a second browser or second largest browser in the world. Microsoft Edge also uses KHTML. Normally the third line or the third point in rendering engines is very vital. That is, KHTML descendants are used by Google Chrome, Opera, Vivaldi, and Microsoft Edge. So most of the today's world is driven by KHTML descendants, which means flavors of KHTML. Then there is something called as WebKit, which is also KHTML's descendant, or you can say a flavor of it, which is used by Safari. So most of today's browsers are ultimately based on top of KHTML, as in the base rendering engine. So in case any one of you want to explore more, then these kind of, you can say, rendering engines are open. So one can very well go to KHTML website, one can very well go to Firefox, or ultimately World Wide Consortium website, and very well get the source code for these engines, very well modify the source code, and have their own rendering engines, ultimately browsers created. So rendering engines play a very vital role. However, our agenda for today is something like understanding JavaScript engine. So I'm going to go, and now the next question that I'll have sooner or later. So we discussed about it, like there is a call given to web server. By default, you send a HTTP request, you get HTTP response. By default, browser has got this hierarchy that internally exists. One point is missing here, that is called as JavaScript engine. So I should mention that as well. So there is one more thing that we have is JS engine over here, which I forgot to add in the slide. Then there is another thing that we have. Let me close this. The rendering engine is going to go and understand the HTML source code, and then it is going to go and plot some sort of content. Now, when it comes to like plotting a UI, that's one of the job of rendering engine. But barring that, you will find out now we have to dig into it, like what exactly happens behind the scene. So what I'm going to do now, to understand the extreme left of this diagram, extreme left of this presentation, I need to go to some sort of code now. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start Visual Studio Code, and we will be typing some sort of HTML into it. So let me start Visual Studio Code. And in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to create a new file, which is going to be plain HTML file. So let me save this as .html. On desktop, I'm going to store it in JS demos. Let me say it as test.html. Now, I'm just quickly going to go and write some HTML code. So HTML, some shortcut used, some title we have here. Let's say the tags hierarchy is pre-decided. So let me call it as test hello. And then there will be something like some elements, maybe input. Maybe I should type here input type is equal to text. Some sort of ID can be given. Let's say txt name. Quickly add it here. Okay. And there will be one more element called as BR. Then there will be something like button that we will create here. Input type equal to button, and let's have click me as in the text added over here. So what did I do is I just have created a smallest HTML, and then I wish to open this HTML. Normally we should serve this HTML from the web server, but what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to double click and open it in the browser. So here's what we will do. Under JS demos, I'm going to simply double click and open this in Chrome window. Now look at it here. When I open this, what we call it as HTML page, the source code which was there, let me say view source here, and let me have it parallelly open for you. So by default, the HTML source code I had written, this was given to rendering engine, and rendering engine did consider line by line all these contents and try to understand and try to do something with it. For example, title test hello. It did put up title test hello here. Input type equal to text and ID equal to something. It did plot this text box. It did plot this button as well. It's all good that we have. But then barring this rendering, there is something else as well that it has done. And what else it has done is, with respect to these elements that we have, you will find out there are certain objects constructed. Okay, what sort of objects? Let me help you understand it. I'm going to go back to my draw thing, and then let's understand it through the drawing one more time. So I'm going to go to annotate one more time. And then I'm just going to quickly take this content. So maybe I should clear this drawing first, the old one. Okay, here we go. So there is some sort of HTML hierarchy that we have had. So some HTML hierarchy that we had. So let's say this is our HTML source code. And now what happens with the rendering engine, in turn the browser, is by default tag by tag, what it does is it adds certain elements. For example, there will be, if you have worked with any object-oriented programming language, example C++ or maybe Java, or maybe .NET. So if you've worked with any of the object-oriented programming language, I'm sure you know what classes are and what objects mean. So normally, if at all I have, let's say, employee class and I create an employee object out of it, maybe employee one. So let me do one thing. Let me try to put here some piece of code just to help you understand it. So just like in normal C++, we can have a class written called as employee, and we can always have some sort of members over here. Like there can be integer, number, there can be something called as some sort of string or character array, which can be name, and so on. Just like that, you will see that there are certain objects which exist in case of a rendering engine, and those objects are going to get constructed automatically. Ultimately, browser is going to construct some objects automatically. How and what those objects are, let me help you one more time. I'm going to copy paste one code from our markup. So let me go back to Visual Studio Code. Let me copy this line for you. So again, I should close this box. I should copy this. And then I'm going to go back to one more time the annotation part. Okay, here we are. So let me put in some content over here one more time. So this is the line that I've copied just now. So what is it that happened with this line in case of, and I should close this, which I did not. Okay, so this is the tag that I have. So what is it that happens now? By default, the rendering engine on behalf of browser is going to do something here. It is going to take this tag, read this tag, and it is going to create one object in memory, just like you can create employee object. And that object is something which is called as HTML element object. So just like we can have some sort of classes and objects created, there will be one HTML element object created. And this object is for one tag. Just like if I create an employee class object, I'll always have the employee class object in general. Let me select and move it up here. So just like in order to use this employee, I'll always use emp e1 equal to new emp. And then in order to use this employee, I'll always use e1 dot number equal to, let us say maybe 100 or something, so that I can set and get the values. Exactly in the same manner, you will see after creating this HTML object, you will see this object dot on the extreme right. If you see, there's a type equal to text, there is ID equal to txt name. So you will find out object dot type is equal to, the value is going to be text. Now there is one more that we will have, something called as object dot. If I've created object like this, object dot ID is equal to txt name. Now you'll find out these values will be set up, which means whatever you see in here, let me get rid of this text box and let me draw some sort of format, which is going to be something like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply highlight it. Let me pick up some sort of, so this particular part, which is in the markup, you will notice that this particular markup is converted into something called as one object of HTML element type automatically, ultimately by a browser through rendering engine. Now, what's the purpose of having this kind of an object created? I'm just going to pause a bit of recording here. Okay, so internet failure, and now we are back on track. Okay, I hope all of you there. And there was a connection problem. So now I believe I don't have it now, the problem. So the thing to understand here is,
the voice in between, but now we can hear you.
Okay, fine. So the thing that we need to understand is this HTML markup that we have, this HTML markup is converted into this object. So why do we have this object created in the first place? So you will find out this particular object is not the only one. There are several so-called element you and me can add into plain HTML like this. And then there will be several objects of HTML element type created internally over here. Why are we creating these objects in the first place? So now to understand the fact, I really want to manipulate this input element. If somebody tries to say change the text box's value, if somebody tries to click on the button, then we want to change the text box's color, for example. So you will find out if I am here to manipulate and deal with the UI, the recording is push. Okay. I don't know what does that mean. So maybe I'll answer that in a while. So in a flow, we have the HTML hierarchy here, and that HTML hierarchy is something like on the extreme left, what you see is this hierarchy is converted into something called as HTML element objects hierarchy. But then why do we have this kind of a hierarchy? So to understand it, it is like this. By default, when we see JavaScript over here, let's say, JavaScript or using JavaScript, I would like to manipulate this UI. But then you are not going to manipulate this UI directly because it doesn't understand it. Rather, what JavaScript understands is set of objects like this. So JavaScript simply cannot go and cannot work with elements directly. JavaScript is going to want to work with this HTML elements objects internally. And then how do JavaScript work with this object? Because this object hierarchy is not created by JavaScript. This object hierarchy is created by a browser through rendering engine. What is this hierarchy called as? Normally, this hierarchy is called as something called as DOM. Now, this DOM hierarchy is used by JavaScript for manipulating the actual UI elements, which is on the extreme right of you. So how will JavaScript access these elements? Because these elements are by default going to be there in memory. by default. There's always a hierarchy. These objects are going to be there in memory.
Mahesh, sorry to interrupt. The recording is paused, so you need to resume it.
Yeah, so I have reached the maximum limit because I need to finish this drawing, then only I can continue. I hope you're recording, Rahul, from your end as well.
Yes, that's happening.
Yeah. So so don't worry about the recording all. So it is done by me as well as Rahul. So if it is paused at my end, it is still going on at Rahul's end. So I'm going to resume it in a while. But in order to resume, I have to go to the, I can say, complete different context, different software. And then I lose the diagram that I'm drawing right now. So that's the reason I'm continuing. I'll resume the recording in a while, in next 5 minutes. So coming back to the point, there is something on the right, HTML elements. Now we have objects hierarchy on the extreme left. This objects hierarchy is called as DOM. It's in memory only. But why do I have it? Because JavaScript is going to go and deal with it. Okay. If JavaScript is going to go and deal with it, how will JavaScript get access to these elements? So what is it that browser does now? You will find out browser will construct some helper objects. Now these are something which is interesting facts here. Browser is going to go and construct one more object here. One object which is called as document object. And this document object is something which will be JavaScript's entry point. JavaScript will access document, and this document is going to go and talk with ultimately the DOM object that we have. So I'm very sure about this. While writing JavaScript code, many of us must have written some statements like this. Something like this. So it is like document dot get element by ID, let's say. So if you have used this statement, why are we using this statement and what this statement does? This statement is actually not at all interacting with something like your HTML UI directly. So you are not interacting here as we discussed earlier as well. Let me say draw here one more time. So this particular part is not dealing with the UI directly. Rather, you will find out document.getElement by ID is dealing with something called as your DOM hierarchy that we have here. So you will need to know that this particular object is just a helper object. So again, I should continue the drawing. So here it is. So this is dealing with the HTML. You're asking document object to find some from the hierarchy of objects on the left. So this object hierarchy is called as DOM. And then there are certain more helper objects. For example, document will never help you find out the location of the person that user is whichever user is browsing this web page from whichever location. The document object will never help you in that. Maybe another thing, going back and forth into the browser, find out that is something which is not managed by document object. There are some other helper objects as well required. Now these helper objects, something like, if you've heard of it, navigator, then there is something called as history. There is something which is called as XHR and other. You will find out these helper objects are also going to get created by browser. So document is not the only object that is created by the browser or ultimately engine. You will find out navigator and history and XHR and JSON objects are also created by something called as this engine and ultimately a browser. So these, what we call it as these objects, which are helper objects other than document or other than something called as window, you will see these objects are very well known as something called as browser object model, which means the hierarchy of these objects is well known as something called as browser object model. So I have some questions here. Okay, so maybe I'll be little slow so that maybe voice gets audible, because I'm running right now on a short bandwidth because power is off. So, and net connection is low because of the, you can say, conditions outside. So anyway, so I hope all can see this thing on your screen. And am I audible right now, Rahul and everybody else?
Yes, Mahesh, we can hear you well.
Okay, okay, fine. Okay, okay. So I hope I made my point clear. Just like you create a class and you use an object of a class, similar manner with respect to every HTML element, there will be some sort of object constructed. There will be some getters, setters associated with that object. And those objects are used by JavaScript so that JavaScript can manipulate actual UI elements. And to collect these objects, there are some helper objects that we have. One of them is document. There are other helper objects that we have, which is navigator, history, and everything else. You will find out those fall under BOM, which is browser object model hierarchy. And then the actual elements are under DOM. Now, here, these are the, like, is it exact mapping? The objects that we have on the, rather the elements that we have on the extreme right versus the objects on the extreme left. Exact mapping that we have. Let me take you to one more example. I'm going to close this drawing. I'm going to clear this drawing. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to close this drawing window. I'm going to start recording one more time. Give me a minute. Okay, and parallelly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start recording one more time. So I'll continue the recording. I'll say no maximum limit. Unfortunately, the maximum limit was set up. Here we go. So now what we need to understand is there is no exact mapping of something called as element to the DOM objects. In this example, I'm going to simply comment content, and I will again write, rather, I'll not write any HTML here.
Mike, we're not able to see your see what you're typing. Yeah.
Okay.
You can see now. You can see now.
Okay. Okay. I've created a new file. Give me a minute.
Mahesh?
I'm audible? Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody can see my screen? Okay, okay, fine. So let's continue. So now the screen that we are on, again, I have some chat request. No. Okay. So now on a screen, what you see is test2.html. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put up here a simple table. maybe here, simple Mahesh first, let's say. I've just added my name in this HTML. There is no other tag. Now, when I open this test2.html in the browser, let me copy this. Let me paste here and put here test2 now. See to it, by default, Mahesh as in content as it is visible. But if I just have to show you by inspecting this element, you something like I created Mahesh, but then Mahesh is part of body tag, body is part of HTML, there's a head as well, and so on. So what has happened here is I did not add body tag, head tag, HTML by myself, but then these tags are added automatically. Similar manner, some of you who there's a table, there's a TR, and there's, let's say, TD, a column. I'm going to add one number. Now, if I run this one time, notice 100 is part of a table right now. There is a HTML head title body, but then barring that, there's a table and T body. I never added something called as T body by myself. Rather, there was a table and there was a TR automatically. So you will find out certain elements are going to get added automatically into the HTML hierarchy. Some elements may come as a surprise, and those elements will also be represented into that markup hierarchy that we talked about. So coming back to the point here, coming back to the slideshow, what we discussed was that there is a request to the server, there is a response from a server. When the content is given to browser basically gives it to, browser collects it using libw. It is handed over to HTML rendering engine. Rendering engine will plot the UI, but at the same time, with respect to HTML elements, it is going to go and create those HTML element object hierarchy, which is on the extreme left, if you can see. So this object hierarchy in memory is called as DOM tree. And this DOM tree, to collect and work with, there is something called as some BOM objects that we have to manipulate. In order to manipulate this entire element hierarchy is document object. There is also one more vital object, which is the first object you will notice, one of the first, along with document object in the hierarchy. That is something which is called as window object. So here window represents a root for this DOM. Okay, how exactly is that? Can I see those objects somewhere in the hierarchy? So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to start working with JavaScript now. So in HTML, our first HTML code content, you can comment this code here. I wish to simply write down some code on button click. I'm going to write down some JavaScript code here. There was some question, I believe. Okay, could you please provide an example of BOM? Okay, so Mohit has asked one question. I'll answer those questions in a while. Okay, so I'm going to write down some script tag or script. And in this, let me have to find out this object, let's say text box. Obviously, what all of us, like some of you who worked on JavaScript must have done it. I'm just going to write down one here, one, and then we will just put up. We will call this document object and ask document object that from the DOM hierarchy, please get me one element by ID, and which is going to be txt name. Quick concern, quick question that we will have here is, we get element by ID function in a browser. So if browser is capable of creating DOM, we have DOM C object like this, and will every document object in every browser we will this method element by ID. You will find out that get element by ID is one method. Then document dot you say there is a method. So will all these methods that we have here? You may not, because here, if you recall about one is when the DOM gets created, ultimately it's all based on top of certain standards. It is based on top of what sort of HTML you want to collect, what elements are going to get created in memory. That is also decided by something called as the rendering engine itself. And you will find out when we have the DOM constructed, when we have BOM constructed, you will find out every browser may not stick to some standard like W3C standard or something called as what WG standard. So what you have to understand here is every method that you see with respect to document object, you may not find everywhere in every JavaScript engine, because ultimately JavaScript is giving document and window. You will find out it is all given by somebody else. Okay, I got it that there is a voice cracking. So maybe I'll again speak a little slow so that all of us can see it or hear it. Okay, got it, got it. Okay, again, some factors to understand. Okay, got it. Coming back to the point again. Okay. So somebody has just asked a question. So Chrome is Chrome basic versions are based on top of KHTML, which means Chrome's engines, JavaScript engines, rather rendering engines are based on top of KHTML. V8 engine is something which is, you can call it as, it is a more of a JavaScript engine. So that V8 engine can be taken out and can be executed outside the browser as well. So there's a question that somebody has asked, what is the difference between Chrome's V8 engine and KHTML? So KHTML acted as a base for rendering engine, which presents the UI, and V8 engine, which we see, V8 engine is kind of, you can say, JavaScript engine, which is responsible for execution of JavaScript. That V8 engine code can be taken out and can be used outside the browser as well, which is what happens in case of Node.js. So Node ultimately is something like V8 engine, internally it uses. And then we have execution of Node, ultimately JavaScript on server side. So all of us know that JavaScript is typically executes on browser. But here the JavaScript can execute outside the browser using V8 engine. So there was one more, I believe, a pop-up. One participant is saying ID is different in the script tag and element. Yes, I got it. So I just mentioned here, ID is txt name, and get element by ID, I just have mentioned here. So this is F1 function. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to call this F1 and I'm going to hold this element. In JavaScript, we can have a kind of a universal container like this where I'm going to use var v, a variable to hold the element. Now, please be here and try to see the IntelliSense. I'm going to hold a cursor on get element by ID. Now, please check what is the return type of get element by ID. So it is there in the tooltip, as you can see here. Look at my mouse cursor. So on the extreme right, it shows you what is the return type of this function. And this returns me HTML element. It returns me one object of HTML element type. And just like you have employee class object, considering in more like employee class object, I may get here, when I say v dot, I will get here something called as ID. I can collect here something called as value in IntelliSense. I can collect here styles and everything else, which means typical getter setters that you see here, these getter setters are available along with the object now. And this object is collected from using document from DOM hierarchy, which is automatically created. Now coming back to the point here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a debugger here so that we can debug this code. Now let's try running this code first. Okay, I believe I have answered it. Okay, now let me run this code one more time. I'm in the browser now. Let me press F or simple inspect will also do. And I will click on the button. So when I click here, the JavaScript execution pauses. So we are stuck with the debugger now. Let it be. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to console before we even find this element. So there is one base object we'll always find out. What if I say this here? You will find that whenever you say this, there is one object which is there in the current context, which is called as window. So in so-called ultimately in JavaScript, you will always find out that ultimately everything is more like an object, and every object is a key and a value pair at the very base. So currently there is one object constructed. Even before I start execution of any line or a logic, there is one object by default created, which is called as window object. This window object has got some keys and values over here. So there is a key and a value. You can always see other values as well. Now let me show you what it means. There is one function I created. I'm also going to create here var v or var, let's say message equal to hello all. So if I say var message equal to hello all, and if I have var v equal to get element by id, some function is written. Let me show you how these two are represented by JavaScript engine. So you will find out whenever this script is handed over JavaScript engine has a object constructor called as window anyway. And then please note here, if I click again, note here in the console, when I show you this current object, there is a window. Look at with window what we have here. There is F1, which is the key. There is actual function entire content added as a value over here. There is something called as, there was one variable called as message. So let me scroll down. Let me open magnifier so that all of us can see it clearly. Please have a look at it. So with respect to window object, what you can see is there is one key called as message. There is something called as hello all as a value, as you can see. So whatever you write in case of JavaScript or script tag, you will find out open variables are there as variable acting as a key and the variable value acting as a value. Function, if you write, function name will be acting as a key and actual function body will act as a value over here. So ultimately, whenever you ask JavaScript to execute something, what it looks for is it there in the key value pair? If it is there in the key value pair, it will execute it. But if it is not there in the key value pair, we always find out we will end up in error. So let me do one thing. I'm actually moving to tangent concept because of the past. Moving to a concept called as hoisting in this case. Function should not execute until click in click me button. Yeah, I clicked on the button. So I'm ready. If you see on the extreme left, there's a grid view Vaibhav, and clicked on the button, and that's the reason I am inside the function. So your point is very valid. Then what is hoisting and how it's internally going to work? So that's what I'm answering right now, Sumit. So here's what we are going to go and understand now. Go back to where message hello all. Now this message is, I'm going to simply alert here and put up message value. Okay. Now what happens here is I have actually used message before declaring it and defining it. That's what the code is like. Let's see what we get. Let us try running the code now. Refresh here. Look what we get on a screen. What we get defined over here. And why is that? Does undefined means error or so? Let me explain. What if I do not declare and define this object? One more time. Let me go back to code again. Let me refresh. Now see to it, we have this exception, and it clearly tells you that is something like not defined. Yeah. So we get this error. Why do we get this error now in here? There's the reason again. What happened? I should say answer live, answer live, and answer live. Okay. Here we go. Message is not defined. I get this exception or error. Why do I get this error? Because what happens in JavaScript is this is handed over to JavaScript engine by default. Before execution of this code, what JavaScript engine does is it goes through entire code, finds out it is not going to go and execute this line. It is rather in the parsing phase, it is just quickly going to go and check what are the variables that we have declared, var message. Then normally, though I have assigned a value over here, it is at 9th line. You will find out what is it that internally it does. Looking at this variables declared, you will find out it will be doing something like this. It will be declaring var message equal to undefined. This is the inbuilt value that JavaScript engine is going to undefine. So every variable, even a function. So right now, if you look at a function, even function will be declared and defined like this. F1 equal to, and there will be actual function body, which will be put up like this. So there will be word like function, and there will be some content like this, because this function or this content is also a value that you should understand. So you'll find out there is a function and content like this. So by default, what JavaScript engine does is your variable which was here, you will find out JavaScript will declare it above and define it as undefined default value. Var F1 equal to some function, this will be declared and defined. So please have a look. It is key and a value. It is key and a value. And these key values are ultimately part of one object, which is called as window object. So your window object is going to have these key value pairs added by default. Now during the execution, for example, if you're asking JavaScript to execute alert, what happens is this particular is already defined with undefined value. You saw undefined coming in picture. Reason behind that, it was declared. But what if I don't declare and define it like this? Then obviously during the parsing phase, JavaScript engine will have no knowledge about this variable at all, because you have used it, but you haven't said assign something to it anywhere. You did not say var message. You did not say let message or constant message. You did not say anything at all. So what happens is, in case of JavaScript variables, the variable must be declared, may not be defined, but then var message that you define here ultimately will be taken into window object as a key value pair. So if you haven't declared and defined it, you'll find out there is no sign of var message over here. And then when you call message over here, you will end up in error. That message is not declared. So you have to understand it. That is, this seems like moving the variables up. Based on the discussion that we are doing, you will find out it looks like variables are moved up. It looks like functions are moved up, but it's not like that. It is a general, what we call it as inspection that is done by JavaScript engine from the top to bottom of the curly bracket start and curly bracket end. And then you will find out these, so-called you can say inspection, are going to force JavaScript engine to declare these variables and assign the values to these variables, either undefined or the body of a function itself. So those which are declared and assigned, those which are declared and so-called defined, you will find out it looks like they're moved up. This is something which is called as typical hoisting behavior. In case of, you can say like moving up these variables, but there is no physical movement of these variables that happens in case of JavaScript, which means this code is not at all going to get moved up in the hierarchy. That is one thing that we need to keep it in mind. Now I have a couple of more questions in here. Okay, what is difference between ES5, ES6 and arrow functions with respect to this? Okay, so ultimately we will try to understand this. I'll answer maximum that I can in this session itself, because I have other session planned for it. Then we have something more. What is hoisting and how internally works? So anyway, I have conveyed it just now. I'll say done this and answer live. So ES5, ES6, I'm going to go and answer in a while. So coming back to the discussion points one more time, guys. Here we go. So in the slideshow, we discussed about, we have a DOM hierarchy constructed. And then we have here JavaScript engine, which needs to work with the UI. Reason has to work with the DOM tree hierarchy. And to deal with the DOM tree hierarchy, it needs some helper objects. One of the objects that we saw was something called as a window object. So, and every object that we discussed is ultimately simple key value pair that we have here. So now we have, okay, so we discussed a bit about BOM and bit about DOM hierarchy. So there's always a global object. Every object is a key value pair we discussed. There is something called as DOM and BOM. A variety of different objects exist in DOM and BOM. Then the actual hierarchy created in memory is called as, with respect to HTML element, is called as DOM hierarchy, which starts from window object. Then we have something called as BOM, which are like helper objects initialized by the browser. Then there is something called as document object, becomes the entry point for what we call it as JavaScript, so that we can access the HTML elements from the DOM. So this is the thing that we discussed just now. So there was a window object which was holding message, and some function F1 was there. I mentioned it as hello world here. And this on the down left, what you see is there is something called as HTML element hierarchy. Okay, now I have BOM has got navigator, history, and etc. So I'm going to explain BOM in detail in the next few minutes. So a quick poll that we will have, guys, to help me understand whether you are getting it or not. So I have a poll now. So please be ready with answers. So the next question I'm going to ask you is this. So please answer the question. I'm waiting for the answer, guys. I have 56% vote so far. Please participate in the vote. Waiting for last few seconds now. Okay, so I received answers here. Maximum are saying document is the maximum used object. And then after that, we have window, navigator. Okay, so I'm going to show you result now that you have answered. I'm going to share results with you all. Hopefully you can see the result on your screen. I'm sharing the result and I'm going to close it. Okay. So now what we have here is the answer for the question asked. Document is the most used object from the, I can say, hierarchy. So you'll find out from, as I said, to enter into DOM for JavaScript, document is the object that we have. So document becomes an entry point for your JavaScript to enter into DOM tree and deal with the elements and deal with the UI. So you will have to understand it. That is the most common used object because everything goes through document in order to manipulate the DOM and in order to manipulate the HTML elements. So document becomes the, you can say, highest used object. Now that we have. So as I said, the objects that we have in case of front end. So that thing is we have over here. These helper objects are going to go and differentiate with respect to the versions of browsers that you are using, and so what I can say JavaScript engine and the same time rendering engine in your browser. Now, normally when we say DOM or BOM, you will find out this is all dependent on top of few facts. This is all dependent on facts like which version of, so what you can say, markup you are supporting and what version of standard you are supporting. For construction of HTML, for construction of your BOM and DOM, there are certain standards that we have. As I said some time back, there's a standard called W3C given standard, Worldwide Consortium given standard. And there is another standard that we have, which is called as WG, as in another community standard that we have. These two govern the front-end world today, as I said. Now, which one I should follow? Normally, current trend is people do use WhatWG as an community standard. This is the community which basically has got HTML5 announced and offered as a first draft. Rather, this was the community which had driven HTML5 so far. There's other community as well. Rather, this is the oldest community, World Wide Consortium, World Wide Web Consortium, which has been driving a number of things since the ages. But then now we have two different called as we can say point of contact for managing the standards. So both the communities have decided to give you certain things. So by default, when we say DOM main version, I may see document, window, navigator, history like objects in the picture. But later on in the recent versions, because of the higher usage of something called as maybe JSON, something called as XML for data transmission, you will find out there are a couple of more BOM objects which are added recently. So there is one more object that we have called as more object that we have, which is called as XML. So you will find out these two objects, because of the usage of JSON and XML, I should say usage of JSON and XML, there are a couple of more objects added into the hierarchy. So you will find out those who have coded in the oldest versions of, let's say, those who have got the experience of Python, you will find out you must have used sort of third-party AI. You must have used called as JSON2. You may have used something called as Newtonsoft, if you have heard of it before. So these API or something called as Microsoft MS XML DOM, MS XML. You must have used these APIs in JavaScript to deal with JSON or XML. These were all external kind of, you can say, things, which means JavaScript was externally supported through some sort of helper objects by using some .js files, JSON to Newtonsoft, MS XML, things. But then now we don't need any of it. Reason behind that, we have inbuilt support for XML and JSON through new BOM objects like JSON and XHR. So current trend is almost every latest browser or smart browser that we have uses something called as JSON and XHR. So today you will find out a trend is like all asynchronous calls, asynchronous communication, minimum amount of data transfer, less usage of CPU, UI construction on the client side. These are things that people are targeting to because they know their customers and clients are using mobile a lot. People prefer to have a less data transmission over maximum data transmission. Reason behind that, people are using mobiles nowadays. People have got shortage of bandwidth on their mobile compared to the Wi-Fi and broadband connections. So you will find out people prefer to use less data transmission. And less data transmission in the sense I'm looking for JSON much. And then obviously JSON support on server side becomes must. JSON support on client side also becomes must. And you will find out these things are very well supported using the new BOM objects like JSON and XHR. So again, will this be supported by everybody? You will find out currently almost every smart browser supports it. But when it comes to something like oldest browser or old browsers, you will find out you may never see it. Will this be a concern? This will be a concern for many of us because what if my website which is using JSON and XHR object is opened by people maybe in i6 or i7, the old browsers, which are not in current trend. Now you find out that's going to go and cause a problem. Reason is these objects were not there back then. So we will have to always end up writing code or recommend people like they should have a latest browser all the time. They should have upgraded their browser. So there has to be always before we start using these objects. If your client pool consists of old, you can say browser-based customers as well. How do I do that? The easy thing I will go with. I'm going to simply comment this code that we coded so far. And I'm just going to go and quickly check here. If type of, and I will simply say JSON. If type of JSON is equal object. So if it is object, then I can just convey in alert that you are using latest BOM or DOM or HTML or browser version. Else what we can do is we can just convey to end user something like please upgrade. Ideally, I should mention here you are using latest BOM or DOM. Even I should not say DOM. Reason behind that, it's a part of BOM object. So maybe I can just say BOM. Latest BOM in the sense you are using latest browser, latest rendering engine as well. So that's the reason I mentioned the rest of it. So what if I run this? What if I go to UI and refresh it here? Okay, so did I save this code? I believe yes. If type of JSON is equal object, object is not defined, so I should say object here. Okay, so what you see on the screen is we are using something called as a BOM. So you can see here, there's an alert which tells you you are using latest BOM object. But then had it been some sort of old browser, I may never say this. Can I test it on the old browser? I'm using Windows 10 and I can't test it on old browser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this particular project runs. So I'm going to go to Internet Explorer here that I have. And what I'm going to do is I am going to open my test URL, copy this, open it in browser here and refresh it. So I'm going to put here allow blocked content. Now see here, This is saying you are using latest BOM. So which version of IE are we using? So I'm going to go to help and see about. So I'm using, let's say, IE 11 version. Somewhere in 2011 we had it. But can I really see it not working in some cases? So I'm going to press F12 here one more time. And we have an option here that we can make sure that we can change it to older version. So you can't install multiple IEs on the same machine. So ultimately what we can do is we can change the version here. So now I really want to test it on i9, let's say. If I pick up i9, maybe I should pick up here emulation. So by default, I'm going to pick up i. Can I see? Yeah. So on i8, it is working. One more time, I'm going to press F12. i7, I'm going to go and pick up here. Now, please see to it. It mentions here that is i7. It says please upgrade. So i7, it doesn't support this thing. If I pick up i8 as in version, you'll find out it says you're using latest BOM. What does that mean? Internet Explorer is supporting the JSON object since i7 onwards. Now, in the same manner, one can very well keep on finding the ifs and buts with respect to particular browsers, and one can very well start using so-called, the check with respect to BOM and DOM objects, and you can end up writing code. So what I'm going to switch to next session. I'm going to have questions and answers picked up. But before that, let me answer one of the questions that I received here. That is, what is the difference between ES5 function and ES6 arrow function? Now, normally, before we understand that, what to understand is what exactly, why do we need ES5, ES6? What if I tell you when JavaScript was created, that JavaScript ultimately was very basic feature. Rather, JavaScript is still basic. It has got certain things like it has got very basic loops, 3 maximum. It has got very limited types, all in all. And then since it's very raw, and that's the beauty of JavaScript, that one can mold it in the way they want it. So in case of JavaScript, we never talked about a version. So JavaScript was handed over for standards management by Netscape later on. Like after invention, it was after construction of JavaScript, it was handed over to somebody called as ECMA, as in community. That community back then used to manage standards for some other languages as well. One of the very popular language that ECMA managed was Lisp itself, one of the very popular language back then. And this ECMA, so-called you can say standard, did not do much like standards. Why do I need standard in the first place? I'm sure some of you, those who are using Java, those who are into .NET, you must have seen certain things, like you must have seen something called as lambda expressions. You must have used anonymous functions in case of .NET and Java. So to cope up with these features, you will find out every language has to advance. So you'll find out based on the need of the market that I should code less and I should achieve more. You will find out ECMA, as in community, decided to basically have versions of JavaScript. Version in the sense standards version, that if you write the code with function name into it, or if you write a function without a name, if you write a function without a function, a word and simple round brackets also, still it should work. For example, if I just quickly go and function one, there was this function one that we authored, if you recall. This is one of the easiest that we have. What if I do something like this? If I here var f1 equal to, and if I simply copy this, if I just mention here function round bracket and actual code, which was var v equal to something. What if I do something like this? This is also allowed because this function now is kind of, you can say, function without a name. Similar way, what if I write down something like this, that content goes to, I write down entire content in this manner. I'll have var v declared and defined this manner. So ultimately, I have a chance to write code like this. I may end up code like this, and I may end up writing code like this. It's options. But then if I end up writing code like this, will every browser understand it? this is based on the, maybe let's say ES5 standard. Based on ECMAScript 5 standard, 2015 standard, you will find out if I can write down the code like this, it's the shortest syntax that I can write down. It's arrow syntax for writing a function. But then will every browser understand the syntax? Every JavaScript engine understand the syntax? No. In that case, we will have to stick to this syntax. Can somebody help me create this code based on top of ES5 standard? Or can somebody help me reverse this code into old standard also? There is a very nice engine which is very well known as Babel, if you have heard of it. React uses it very much. So there is, if you have heard of like, should go to babel.io and show you. Let me go to Babel. I believe it is Babel. I should search for that.io. So here it is, the compiler for next generation JavaScript. You will find out this Babel engine is either, there are libraries and plugins available, that is you can do it on the fly. You can very well import the Babel into your project, and one can very well go for maybe do this conversions from ES5 to ES6 and vice versa automatically using the library called Babel or package called as Babel. One can very well do it through the site itself. So it's to you, like which version of JavaScript you wish to use and which version is your maximum customers are supporting it. So the very, like, before you understand any of the factors, what you should do is you should decide what sort of version customers are going to use, what sort of things my customers are going to go on maybe intended to use, and then you should take a decision whether to go for ES5 or ES6 or the, you can say, latest versions like ES 2017, for example. So it's always a decision based on who are your customers. How can we use map in JavaScript? Okay, there are some more questions that we have. How can we use map in JavaScript, or certain things which I have kept for the, I can say, other version of the webinar. So if you have some questions, I'll be glad to answer those. I'll pick up the questions that are related to this webinar right now. Then if there are certain questions, I'll quickly tell you what those, where exactly we can address those questions. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just waiting for your questions now. So guys, please ask questions if you have. So mapping is something that we're going to go and cover in the advanced version of this webinar. Okay. If you have questions, please ask. I'm going to let me pick up here a poll one more time, everyone. I'm waiting for your answers. Okay, so maximum have answered yes, they want to be expert in JavaScript. Normally, when we see, okay, I should say endpointing and share the result with all of you. Now to see the result, and now I'm going to stop the sharing with you. Okay, so there are few things that people have interest into. So it's like this. There are like, people are always curious about something, how Angular works, why Angular is popular in market. Something called as how jQuery works behind the scene. People are curious about something like how React is popular. People or developers may have an intention that they want to create something like their own Facebook-like applications, that too easily, without putting a lot of efforts. People really wanted to have some sort of, I can say, maybe games which are like online to be played, created. People really want to understand the inner working or internals of so-called JavaScript, internals of working of maybe let's say Angular and JavaScript. People also have interest in maybe doing like developing their own frameworks. Some of you may have intention like that. So all intention like writing your own framework, internals of working JavaScript, Angular, React, Facebook, you can quickly do all of it. You can understand maximum of these things, provided you understand a very raw JavaScript first. So here, intention of this webinar was to discuss certain things about the JavaScript, like internally how DOM works, internally how BOM works, what objects exist, and then something like DOM communicates with each other. That was a very basic intention of this webinar. So what we have done is to move in a pipeline. So there is something that we have planned here. That is, we have planned a certificate course in advanced JavaScript